tonight. Can we give it up for the band, please? All right, you guys can go ahead and have a seat. As much as I appreciate the standing ovation, I haven't even gone yet. My name is Jennifer Bennett, and I am a senior. I'm also a homeschooler and part of our homeschool FCA huddle. So I want to go ahead and get this out of the way now. Yes, I'm homeschooled. And no, we are not as weird as everyone thinks. Just please don't ask us to draw any circles. It has way too many sides. Like 3 people got that joke, and I appreciate all of you. How many of you guys like to worship? I can tell, and it brings my heart so much joy to see you all worship. In fact, you guys aren't the only ones who like to worship. It's what I have to thank for putting me in my relationship with God. It's the thing that always brought me closer to Him. However, I have not always been so unashamed about the way I worship. In fact, from my 6th grade year until my sophomore year, I was too afraid to sing during worship, let alone with my hands. My 6th grade year, it was my first experience at my youth group, and I rushed straight up to the front with my friend, and the music started, and I shot my hands up in the air, and I started singing my little tone-deaf heart out, and immediately my best friend tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Shh, you can't do that, that's really embarrassing." And I took it straight to heart, and I stopped because I thought that that was what was important, being there and fitting in with my friends. In fact, from then all the way to my sophomore year, I went straight to the back, didn't worship, didn't sing, and didn't fit in at youth group because I was so afraid of losing the friends that I had. But then came my sophomore year. I had made a new group of friends, and it was the first youth group of the season. And my friends begrudgingly dragged me to the front, much to my dismay. And once again, that first song started to play. Immediately, I went right back into my shell, and I didn't want to do anything. Until I looked over at my best friend next to me, and her hands shot straight into the air as she screamed, and I mean screamed, the lyrics to that song. And when I tell you, I was terrified. I had all of these questions running through my head. How was she so confident? How was she able to do that? What if other people judged me for being next to her? I thought those thoughts about my best friend. And those thoughts consumed me the entire service. Please don't tell my youth pastor, I didn't hear a single word he said that night. I was so in my head with all these doubts and so much conviction because I realized that I had chosen to please people over praising God. I was so ashamed of the way that I worshiped that I chose to not. And that set me back so far in my relationship with God. I would love to think where I would be if I continued to worship. But that last song started to play, and with so much conviction on my heart, I dropped to my knees, raised my hands, and started singing my heart out. And it wasn't easy, it was terrifying. I kind of wanted to cry. But all of that pain and guilt and shame was lifted off of my heart, and I felt so free and happy. I became unashamed of the way that I worship God, and it reminded me of how unashamed God is of me. He saw everything I've ever done, everything I ever will do, and He still decided that I was worth it to send His one and only Son to die for me. And He did. And He did for each and every one of you. While we were all still sinners, while we were ashamed of anything and everything we could have done, He died for us because He loved us that much. Tonight, I want to offer you that freedom that I felt. Tonight, they're going to do an altar call. They will offer you to come up and pray with somebody. I don't care if it's your first time accepting God or your hundredth. If you want to be unashamed, come up and pray with us. We would love nothing more. Tonight, I would love if you would join me in being unashamed.